Well, Kamala Harris, she's having a media blitz. And, well, that didn't make her look any better. It was just a massive flop. This is coming from the New York Post, folks, and it's an opinion piece. Vice President Kamala Harris finally sat down this week for multiple media interviews on consecutive days, a first for her presidential campaign. Folks, we're like 3 weeks out from the election. And now she's doing this, and she still sucks. There's a reason why they haven't been chauffeuring her out, and we know. We've seen enough interviews now. We've seen enough botchness. We've seen enough fumbling or edited interviews to know that she's not capable of like saying a coherent thought, let alone running a state or a country. So yet most of them weren't even interviews at all, but the journalist version of a hot stone massage. The Veep's first major stop was 60 Minutes, and they edited the bleep out of it. And by the way, now senators are calling for the whole thing to come out because it's all manipulation. It's all fabrication. In the same way, the Biden-Harris administration was all scripted. It was all fake. It was all planned. I mean, Joe Biden literally stood on the podium for the first time in almost 4 years for a White House press briefing. And just so you know, I think I'm okay to say this. We talk with Jackie Heinrich of Fox News on Instagram, as well as Philip Wegman of Real Clear Politics, both White House correspondents in that room. And I've asked them both individually, and this was probably 2 years ago when I asked this specific question. I said, hey, when are we going to get Joe Biden on the podium to answer everybody's questions? It might have been around the classified document scandal or the Twitter files. It was over something where it's like, maybe the president should be speaking about this, not some knucklehead reading out of a binder. And the answers I kind of got was, well, it's not unprecedented to see the president not appearing on the podium. Like, it's common that they don't go there. But I'm like, it's been 2 years and we haven't seen this guy once. I mean, we would see Trump up there all the time duking out with like Jim Acosta and all these other knuckleheads. So in the same way here, it's all fabricated. It's all manipulated. It's all freaking Hollywood. And then you got Trump coming out. Screw you, Jim. Jim, you freaking sandbag son of a bee. I'm tired. Go ahead. No, you're rude. Sit down, Jim. Jim, sit down. Right? It's not scripted. It's all legit when you're dealing with Trump. Refreshingly, and for the first time since she replaced Joe Biden atop the Democrat ticket, she was actually challenged with some uncomfortable questions and gasp, even follow-up. Bill Whitaker of CBS seemingly flummoxed her non-answers and word salads on major topics like economic policy and illegal immigration, while Harris looked patently uncomfortable. Now, I want to point out for this 60-minute interview, that's even with it edited. Can you imagine what it would look like if they actually showed you the full footage of her thinking, how am I going to fix things? Well, I've been here. You think that me saying I'm middle class would work again? Do you think the people are stupid enough? I mean, there's actual kids now that are going on like TikTok making fun of Kamala Harris because they even see through all of it. They even see through all the shenanigans that's going on. She can't answer freaking basic questions. And same thing with Joe. I don't know if Joe rubbed off on her, and that'd be kind of gross if he did literally, but you understand this is metaphorical. Don't be weird. It would make sense somewhat that he's like contagious, like he has some sort of disease and he just rubs off on other people. And because he's practically brain dead, everybody else around him becomes brain dead, which would make sense why we're in the state of this country of which we're in, because everybody running the show up there in Washington is brain dead. Something's going on. Something weird's going on. Something has to be contagious. I mean, is Joe patient zero? Is Joe an experiment? Is Joe like a puppet chauffeured out on a gurney that we don't know about? What's going on with the guy? What's going on? What's going on with Kamala Harris? She didn't used to talk like that. Tell you something weird going on. There's something really weird going on. We talked a little bit about Barack Obama yesterday because there was drama between Joe, and there's drama between Barack, and there was drama between John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre. I mean, the drama is like Hollywood. It's all manifesting now. Everybody's putting the blame. F you, man. You're sick. It's your fault. Well, Obama admits Harris' campaign doesn't have energy of his White House run. What an egotistical, you know what, dude. What a jerk, man. Claims black men opposed to her aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. Oh, that's what it is. Jesus, dude. So if it's not about race, right? It's about sex and gender. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with her being a woman. She just sucks at her job, man. I don't get this. It's like the same thing whenever I hound Karine Jean-Pierre for being terrible at her job. Well, you misogynistic pig. How could you sit there and say that about a woman? I don't care that she's a woman. She's an idiot. I called John Kirby a knucklehead too, and Anthony Blinken, and Jake Sullivan, and Joe Biden and Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you're a knucklehead, I'm going to call you out. I don't care that you're a woman. Kayleigh McEnany was a woman, best White House press secretary, probably to go down in American history. I don't know who could beat her out. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was great as well. Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador, phenomenal job. Doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. I just care that you could do your job well. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. But this is Democrats, right? It's all about race, or it's all about sex or gender, all this stuff, right? So former President Barack Obama suggested Thursday that men are opposed to Vice President Kamala Harris simply because she is a woman, while dissing the Democratic nominee for not producing the same kinds of energy as his campaign. We have yet to see the same kind of energy and turnout in all corners of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Black voters for Harris event Pittsburgh ahead of a rally for Harris. I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers, referring to black men. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's the brothers, right? It's the brothers that are sitting out. He says this over at Fox. He says, we have not yet seen that same kind of energy in the turnout. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind for a second, I've got to speak to y'all and say that when you have a choice that is this clean, when on the one hand, you have somebody who grew up like you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and the pain and joy that comes from those experiences. See, that's what they do, right? Is that because you grew up in the same racial neighborhood, well, you could share in those same experiences, and those same experiences somehow is going to translate to their leadership. And because you have the same experiences when they grew up, and that's translating later on in life through a leadership of a presidential candidate, that's all of a sudden going to sit there and make your life better. It didn't work for Barack. Actually, your life got way unsafer. So much so that Thomas Sowell, who is a black man, by the way, one of my top favorite men that's ever existed in human existence. I love the guy. Yeah, he wrote a lot of books. Check him out. Even he says that Barack Obama is the worst president in American history. He's worse than Joe Biden. Let that one sink in. That says everything you need to know. So here's Jesse Waters of Waters World talking about the very thing that we were displaying just now.
Obama thinks Kamala Harris has officially plateaued. And behind the scenes, he's saying worse. Kamala's losing the black vote. He was caught saying this just moments ago in Pittsburgh.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have...
Well, we got the spinning wheel of death, but you get the message, you get the picture, and just Jesse sits there and wallops him over the side of the head. And it actually works out in our benefit that we don't have to hear Barack, because we'll all end up dumber if we have to. So he's going to sit there and push the race card, mixing it with gender, and go, well, that's because of this and that's because of that. They suck at their job, you guys. That's really what it comes down to. Democrats suck at their jobs. And you want to know who really sucks at their job? And I still can't fathom how this person hasn't been fired or impeached or whatever the hell you want to call it. Doesn't matter to me. Is DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, because he went up against Wonder Woman, Jackie Heinrich of Fox News yesterday during the White House press briefing. And let me tell you, she exposed this guy. This guy is scummy. He's up there in the swamp in terms of the most swamp creature you could possibly create. And he kind of looks like one too. So before we jump into that, folks, again, hit that like button. It does help support us. Hit that subscribe and follow button if you haven't already. We do this every weekday, folks, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We would love for you to become part of our community of patriots. And if you haven't already and you've been showing up every day, what are you doing?